Hello everybody, my name's James. Welcome to the Planet FPL Gameweek 24 Deadline stream in partnership with FPL Team. And it's live. We are 12:35 PM UK time, 55 minutes away from the 1:30 PM UK deadline. A reminder, FPL Team is your best one-stop shop for all your future FPL planning, particularly important when we now know confirmation of we will have a double game week 26. As per usual, between now and deadline, I'll try and answer as many of your FPL dilemmas as I can up until the 1:30 UK deadline. Before I do, let me take you through some of the graphics because that may well answer some of your questions. My team is top right hand corner of the screen. I've bought the two Bruno Fernandes and Enzo Fernandez for Bruno Guimaraes. This isn't confusing. And Phil Foden. I had bought Bruno Fernandes last Saturday night. Enzo Fernandez last night. He was kind of borderline whether he was going to go up or not. I knew I was doing it, so I pulled the trigger. I line up this week for Bruggen, Timber, Gabriel, Alderete, Enzo Fernandez, Bruno Fernandes, Rodgers, Rice, Ekiteke, Haaland, Thiago. On the bench, Dubravka, Harry Wilson, Nico O'Reilly and Malik Chow. I will be captain Erling Haaland, vice captain is Bruno Fernandes. That's my preference. Next in line, Bumo, Salah, Saka. You'll see my top 10 in order of preference rotating to the left of the screen, along with my correct score predictions for the game week. Bottom right hand corner, you'll see my predicted lineups for all 20 teams this game week. That will rotate round during the duration of the stream for you. Bottom ticker has next 5 game weeks and all the flag players in FPL. And above that, and directly below me, is the benching dilemma screen where there are 2 players together. The player with the tick is the preferred option to start. They run in order left to right, pages 1 to 4, and you will find some goalkeeper options on page 5. That's the graphics and the spiel done. Let's get into your questions. Good luck, everybody. Vivek Gore says, hi James, start Watkins or Dewsbury Hall? If I had Ollie Watkins, I probably would start, keep, and just carry on. I think with Watkins, I don't want to say like he either starts or he's out. It would make logical sense to me that Tammy Abraham would play. But I don't know what condition Tammy Abraham is particularly in personally. I have got Abraham predicted to start. I think if I own Watkins, if I had a really good substitute, I'd possibly want to hide it for a week to get a little bit more information. Dewsbury Hall probably starts, but isn't a certainty either. So I'd probably just play Watkins, mate. AT says, thoughts on starting Watkins over Thiago, gambling on the fact the former could still start. Only playing 3 defenders already, so can't really start Thiago too. That one's a bit different. I probably would go Thiago. Nintendo says, hi James, what are your thoughts on the Mateta transfer to Milan? Good move for him with Modric and Pulisic providing for him. Reckon he could succeed in Serie A. I said this a few times over the course of the month. We believe that there is a desire from Jean-Philippe Mateta to play in Serie A. Crystal Palace fans will tell you that his knees are shot. I wish you luck. Stephen Henry says, thoughts on bench boost this week? Dubravka, Estev, O'Reilly, Foden. Feels low for high ceiling with 0 of 15 playing each other. Yeah, but you don't fancy particularly a Burnley clean sheet away to Sunderland, so that kills 2. O'Reilly and Foden might not start. I mean, that's easily like a 3-4 pointer, mate. For me, it's a no. Jay Pizzu says, hi, I'm on wildcard. Who should I get? James, Justin, or Hill. Also, Rice or Semenyo. Rice, because of the potential of the double in 26. Hill over Justin. Hill, I keep saying there's a threat to Bournemouth players in terms of the transfer window still being open. That closes Monday. We had a message from Neil Grover, our Bournemouth correspondent, someone said he didn't think that they would buy a centre-back before the window closed, but it's not something that's impossible. James Justin is under, I would say, even more threat from Albert Goodmanson once he's back, so Hill. Jeddy says, play one of Senesi, Rice or Mane. Rice all day, every day. The thing with Declan Rice is, right, once he's in, he plays. Nearly all circumstances, no matter what, mate. Status says, hi James, who to bench out of Wilson, Alderete, Senesi, Nunes? If I don't buy Timber, I will just play all of them. I think data say Senesi, but I have FOMO just like Nunes. My advice on that would be leave it, because if Chelsea turn it around against Arsenal next week, you may find you want to buy Chalobah instead. I don't know if you've already got that player, but I would say leave it and just carry on and probably play them all, mate. They're all okay this week. Skodiak says, hi James, I have 2 free transfers, 0.6 in the bank. Defence of double Arsenal, Dorgu, Lacroix and Estev. Put out fires or roll. Cheers. Dorgu's going to go for you. That's fairly certain. but the information might be more important for you moving forward. I think like Quickfire is reasonable to play this week. You've still got Esteve as a backup, probably a little bit more power in rolling, bearing in mind you're not going to go to Chelsea this week. Harry B says, yes, James, would you start Lafay or Thiago? Cheers. Lafay could be on pen. Sunderland, a good fixture at home. I'd still go Thiago, I think. Uros Milicevic says, hi, James, of the players currently annoying me on my team, who would you say is the priority to deal with? Thiago, Saka, Minter, King, Tarkowski, Lacroix, or Jockey Manderson? I have 3 free transfers, 1 million in the bank. So Jockey Manderson will become useful for you again. So will Lacroix in a couple of weeks. Tarkowski, you don't want to bin. I mean, imagine if Chelsea turn it round. We'll all want to get him. Saka, you know how I feel about the intention to downgrade. Minter, happily move on. Probably does come back into the Brighton team today. My honest answer to that would be, listen, it might buy it, but Saka down, mate, and get ready to make moves next. You've got 5 free transfers. Yeah, Saka down and then Minter up, mate. Pup says, hi, James. Which of these options do you prefer? O'Reilly to Timber, Cherky to Enzo, both moves for a hit. Neither of them roll. I'm not going to give the thumbs up to a hit for the defensive player when I've got O'Reilly predicted to play. So Enzo move if you must, mate. Berticus says, hey, James, sell Harry Wilson to Rodgers with my last free transfer, or roll to have 2 next week and have more options info, i.e. transfer window closing, doubles decided, etc. Yep. More probably power in the roll-in. What I would say is, I think this is probably defined by what price you bought Harry Wilson at. So if you're like me and you bought kind of like the 5.2 range, there's every chance you want him back for 28 to 31. Factor that in. Morgan Rodgers has great fixtures between now and including 28. You wouldn't go Rodgers back to Wilson in 28. If you bought Harry Wilson more recently, let's say 5.8 or so or above, then yeah, I would make the move. So I think it's defined a little bit by the price you bought Wilson at. But there's so much power to so many people rolling this week in kind of 50-50. I don't say it's 50-50 call. It's more like 60-40 call. But in calls like this, you might just be better off waiting a week. Gavin Richardson says, hey, James, have Gabriel and Timber. Who's the third best defender? Thinking of the double, so X minutes is highly desirable. Can I say Saliba? Chalobah, because even if the double doesn't happen, it's still good fixture at home to Leeds. Small chance of rotation maybe for him. I'd feel quite confident in Chalobah seeing him not play in midweek. Actually, I think it's good news rather than bad news. Nectarius says, would you do Cherky to Rodgers Bumo for -4? Already bought in Bruno. Possibly comes down to how you feel about Cherky starting. I don't have him in my predicted City lineup, but he could easily be in it. I think the fact they've got Liverpool away next week as well probably pushes over the line to say yes, do it, and preference would be Boomer. AT says, in the event of a West Ham relegation, would there be any job vacancies for any positions next season at Planet FPL Corporation Limited? You'd have to ask Suj, mate. Probably not. What happens if Tottenham get relegated? Do we just all go bust, basically? Ed Stark says, hey, James, always a pleasure from South Africa. Play Senesi or Tarkowski. Small preference for Senesi, both on the bench in dilemmas. Daniel Lund says bench 2, Reece James, Senesi, Wilson, O'Reilly. I cannot believe that Reece James is going to start today, personally. Started the last 2. When was the last time Reece James started 3 games in 7 days? So, pain in the arse that. So, Senesi and Wilson is the answer. Zabinho says, good afternoon, James. I've got 2 free transfers stuck between 2 moves. Which moves do you prefer more? Donnarumma to Sanchez and Garner to Enzo, or Garner to Ndiaye? Cheers. To Enzo. Off the 2, yeah. I mean, I could have bought Ndiaye, couldn't I? So to Enzo. Spooky Sorcerer says, hi, James. 3 free transfers currently starting Wilson and Alderete over Keane. Should I sell Keane to someone 5.6 or under and start him over Wilson, or just roll? Can't afford Chalobah as he's risen to 5.7. So this is trying to think a couple of steps ahead. So I've got Everton predicted to play a back 3 today, and Michael Keane possibly part of that. What if he's back in the team? What if he's got favouritism? And then what if Chelsea beat Arsenal? And you're like, oh my God, I just sold that prick. Yeah, it's a roll, mate. It's a roll. Joe Robinson says, hey, James, 2 free transfers. At the moment, I'm starting DCL. Would you do Dorgu to Maguire or Miley to Douglas Luiz in order to bench DCL, or just roll and start him? Douglas Luiz could be good, but I'm not going to say that he comes immediately into the Villa team. Maguire, I quite like. I spoke about it on Monday's podcast. We don't know the impacts on him, though, when Matthias de Ligt is back fit. That's the only downside on that. How many Arsenal defenders have you got? I mean, if you've just got the one, then it's probably played DCL. If you've got two, I'd be keen to make a transfer. Tanky says, afternoon, James. I have one free transfer and deciding whether to sell Watkins or Bruno Guimaraes. Got plus VE updates on Watkins and Bruno G was on the bench versus PSG. My bench players are Bruno G, Wan-Bissaka, Potts. Hang on. Whether to sell Watkins or... yeah, I mean, Guimaraes is a sell, I think, mate. Yeah. Liverpool, Tottenham and Manchester City all the way 3 of the next 4. It's the only game Tottenham look capable of maybe winning over those 4 weeks. Sadashan says, hello, James. Would you start Alderete over VVD and Dubravka over Verbruggen? Thank you, Smash. I've gone for Verbruggen. Alderete over VVD, no for me. No. Close, but got Van Dijk. I'm not playing him in a game at Anfield. I want to shoot myself, really. Jason Stillin says, hi, James. Wildcard last week. Would you bench boost Dubravka, Elliot Anderson, Mukiele and Reynaldo? It's pretty good. I mean, heaven for you if that game's a 0-0 on Monday night. Yeah, look, I'm going to guess, Jason, that you wildcarded last week knowing that this was a possibility. I can't speak for 11 in the team. So I would say the bench boost actually is okay. If you want to get rid of it, if you think it's going to restrict you later on, I'm okay with that. Obviously, look, if Sunderland and Burnley's 1-1, you're burnt, mate. Reality. But it'd more be of a, you know, have you got like City, Chelsea players in your squad where there's like real concerns about minutes? I'd factor that in. So someone like a Reece James, like he might not play at all today. A Manchester City attacker, you know, with Pep, he might not even get on. So if your 11 looks comfortable, I'm okay with it, mate. Yago says, hi, James. Saw you're playing Thiago over Wilson. Strong feelings on that one. Would you play Krupi over either? Ignore if I'm benching dilemmas. Would I play Krupi over either? No. Maybe, yeah, I probably would chance Krupi over Wilson, I would say. Thiago, I spoke about this on our differential show on Patreon yesterday. The right prediction is to say Villa will win. But I wouldn't be that shocked if Brentford beat them tomorrow. They've walked into a load of injury problems all at the same time. So that's enough reason for me to say, yeah, I'm playing Thiago, and that one is actually pretty straightforward. Don't own Villa defence. I do think there's a circumstance tomorrow where Villa might have a problem. I do think they'll win, but I can foresee that as well. So that's enough for me. JP Zizou says, should I bench João Pedro on wildcard or just not put him in? Will Delap into his minutes? It's fairly obvious, mate. Also, what strikers on wildcard are punt smart picks? Egg, possibly Abraham. We haven't got the Watkins information, so you can't really go Abraham yet, personally. Like, great for this week. Like, if you were free hitting, there's every chance to take a punt on Abraham. Beyond that, who knows? Like, the general vibe from people in the know at Villa seems to be that the Watkins injury isn't serious. I.e., what Emery said, he's still got a chance for this weekend. On João Pedro, as discussed on the weekend yesterday, I think he goes in. If I was on wildcard, he goes in and just suffer it. Just suffer it for whatever it is, truthfully. Zem says, hi, James. Is Reynaldo worth the saving on Alderete? I'd say probably yes. Alderete's defcons haven't been magnificent of late, and I've owned him for a while. I've not had a lot out of that at all. So I would say yes. Shafwan says, hey, James, on wildcard, would you go Semenyo and Ekiteke or Salah and Evan Nilsson, Semenyo and Ekiteke? Delicious Lemon Sauce says, hi, James, please ignore if I'm benching dilemmas. Start one of Van Heck, Harry Wilson, Thiago. They're all on it, mate. Thank you, pal. David Bakradze says, hi, James, hope you're well. Play 2 of Van Dijk, Alderete, Wilson, Thiago. 1 defender at least. Thanks, mate. Good luck to everyone. Also, all on the benching dilemmas, mate. Prancer says, Dorgu replacement up to 4.5. Already have 2 Sunderland. Wait another week. If have value and replacement would be second on bench. Well, the 2 Sunderland's good to play this week, so I'd wait, mate. Frank Seagull says, hi, James, I only have 3 fit defenders and 1 free transfer. Do I do Dorgu to Hill / Ronaldo or risk starting O'Reilly and take 2 frees into next week with more info? I get that. That's a pain. It's like, well, is O'Reilly going to play or not? I think he does, personally, but I totally get the deliberation you've got here. I'd maybe chance my arm on Hill. Ben Guy says, what do you think of a -8 for Pedro for Ekiteke, Bumo for Josh King, Sanchez for Alisson means benching Thiago too. Right, so if João Pedro doesn't start, and there's every chance he doesn't, it's effective -8 just for Bumo. No, mate, no. Eshan says, on a wild card, should I take Palmer or Pedro or neither? Just Pedro for me. AT says, hi James, one website I found really useful without sounding like an ad is Spielverlagerung. Okay, I think you'd love the tactical analysis they do on there, both in German and English, right up your steer. I don't know if you meant up my street. Thank you for that. I'm going to have forgot that within about 10 seconds, mate. Gazman says, afternoon, James. Good luck as always. If not on bench dilemmas, would you start Tarkowski or Maatsen? I'm also starting Mitoma. Thanks, mate. That's an interesting one. I would think Maatsen starts. 80% confidence or so in that. Tarkowski's 100%. You know that. Do I fancy Villa for clean sheet? Ultimately, no. I'd probably go Tarkowski. Maatsen's dirt cheap, isn't he? He's like 4.2 or something. That's an interesting one, that. What No Graphics says, hello, James. Already wildcarded. Would you bench boost this today? Roast, Thiago, Wilson, Tarkowski. Raya in my starting 11. The other 10 would have been good as well. No, I don't want the other 10. Roast, Thiago, Wilson, Tarkowski. Does that look better next week? Maybe not with Roast going to Arsenal. Strong, again, can't see your 11, considered like how much concern you might have within that 11. I don't know, 3 players playing away from home. Feels like Thiago, Wilson, Tarkowski could easily be 2-2. Tarkowski moved 3 or 4, 8. Roast keeps clean sheet. Yeah, I think you there's every chance you'll hit more than 10 with it. If you're happy with that, cool. Second half of this season, I'd want to be nearer 16. You truthfully believe that those 4 players hit you 16? Well, I'll give you a nod, mate. Glenn Watson says, hi, James. Sorry, it's on the dilemmas. Play which one, Thiago or Gay? Love your work. Both on dilemmas. By the way, for those wondering about O'Reilly, just same place as Gay on the dilemmas, guys. Ashish Garang says, hi, James. Who would you start, Calafiori or Chow? I mean, Calafiori, I mean, I'd say he's 50-50 wherever he starts for Arsenal. I've actually got him predicted to come back in. It could easily be Hincapié. Yeah, I mean, you're not loving Malik Chow away to Liverpool anyway. I personally have just chanced my arm with Calafiori. Anish says, hi James, Krupi or Elliot Anderson bench one, please. I'd start Krupi with that fixture this week. Bobby says, hi mate, would you do either Ndiaye or Sarr for Cherky for free? No. No, I'd roll that, mate. Kofkin says, hi, James. Hope you're doing well. My midfield is Bruno, Rice, Enzo, Cunha, and Semenyo. 2 Arsenal defence. No transfers. Should I take a hit to replace Semenyo? If so, by whom? Thanks, mate. Why? He's almost certain starter this week, mate. Why would you want to be hitting him out when he's playing my shit team? Bizarre. Shakamura says, hi, James. Thanks as always. Have to bring in a 3.9 defender to afford Bruno, Hill, or Reynildo. When I'm answering these questions, I'm assuming you're running towards 31, right? I have to. Hill. Shaz de Gil says, afternoon, James. Spurs bias aside, would you start O'Reilly this week over Keane? Yes, probably. Yes, I would. Yes, I would. I mean, it's not a guarantee that Keane even comes straight back in. It's the same thing. Ultimately, I'd fancy City for the clean sheet more than Tottenham, than Everton this week. Sam Routledge says, hi James, hope you're well. Would you do Gimres to Enzo or Rodgers? If one free transfer, already have Palmer and will have no wild card to navigate blanks and double. Have Fernandes, Stack and Rice as other mids. At this minute in time, I would, if you have to do it now, I would go Rodgers. I don't think, even though I've bought him, I don't think Enzo is a certain starter this week. So if you're just putting me that one choice in front of my face, I'm trying to visualise that. If I didn't already have Rodgers in, yeah, I probably would have been going Rodgers first. Daniel Maguire says, hey James, I'm set on a mid 5 of Fernandes, Saka, Verts, Enzo Fernandes, Semenyo. Planning on starting João Pedro. Should I start Watkins or Thiago? As answered right near the start. At this minute in time, it's probably Thiago. Billy T Production says, yes, Jimbo. Happy Saturday. Ignore on benching dilemmas, but do you prefer the socks in bed safe pick of Elliot Anderson or starting the rogue and slightly devilish choice of Mateus Mane? I think with the fixture, Anderson, actually. I do think there'll be goals in that Wolves-Bournemouth game. But Anderson's been back on corners again, I think, recently. Palace have got a problem defending them. That would probably just tip it in Anderson's favour for me. So, socks in bed, sorry. Shoot me. Joseph Cole says, bench 1, Alderete, Chalobah, Thiago, Timber. Also have Gabriel. Yikes. Alderete, unfortunately. Morecambe says, hi James, play 1 from my bench. O'Reilly, Truffer, Krupi. Krupi, I think. Stuart Robinson says, afternoon James, no playing bench. Would you risk just rolling with Gabriel? What? O'Reilly and Anderson. Sorry, I've misread that. So playing Gabriel O'Reilly and Joachim Anderson or Dorgu to Hill Mukiele. Cheers, mate. Yeah, I'd go on that one. I'd Mukiele. The only thing Mukiele is obviously, look, it's more expensive. How does that impact you moving forward? Like if it's going to cut you off of getting a Chelsea player if they turn it around in midweek, for example, then go to the cheaper one. If not, then yeah, Mukiele, perfectly good asset. Tom Glover, 4 free transfers. Plan is Foden, Ekiteke, VVD and Irving to Bruno, Enzo, Gabriel, Krupi. False. Yeah, okay. Yeah. I mean, you got to find a way to put Gabriel in, really, ain't you? Mind you, VVD to Gabriel. I just, the one I'm not keen on now, is I've been clear on this week, I'm not keen on selling Ekiteke. And David said very similar on the weekend yesterday. Otherwise, yeah, it's all right. I can't tell you the 4 you're buying isn't better than the 4 you're selling, mate. Kieran Murphy says, hi James, 4 free transfers, 0.2 in the bank. Would you do Chow, Gakpo and Szoboszlai to Enzo Rogers and the 4.5 defender, Richards or Nico Williams, or to Bumo Sarr, Alderete? What you got to be careful of here is exactly kind of what I just said. Right, so Sarr, I guess, becomes rather than Enzo because you can't afford Enzo. Right, if Chelsea turn it around in midweek, are you like desperate to get to Enzo? The right play at this moment, with what's in front of you immediately, is probably the Enzo Rogers route, unfortunately. Cove Kun says, smash that like button, guys. Yeah, smash a like, please, everyone. Where are we on in terms of likes? Let's get these likes up. Oh, wow, guys, like not even 20%. It's upsetting me, frankly. Smash a like, hit the sub button, everyone. Mustafa Block says, hi James, what's your thoughts about keeping Semenyo and Cherki for 1 more week? Having bought Semenyo last week for a punt, is it worth it to hold off Bruno transfer for 1 more week? Is he a priority? If I had Alan Twain Semenyo this week, I would not be selling him, mate. Simple as that. Joe Pickle says, would you do Bowen to João Pedro or wait? Wait. Bowen's got Burnley next week and see where you sit into 26. But then you're only going João Pedro if it's a double, I think, at that point. Yeah, I'd wait. Howard Green says Foden and Miley to Enzo and 6.1 or less mid. I have no problem with you getting rid of those 2 players. But what I'd probably prefer, like, unless you was in a position where you were starting Miley this week, what I would do is just go Foden to Enzo and leave the money for the minute. Just let Miley on the bench. John Bright says Watkins keep or sell. Have Haaland and Mane 0.6 in the bank. Yeah, this is really annoying because you want Watkins for the upcoming fixtures if he's okay. I think you just got to suffer it this week because he could be an absolutely brilliant differential over the next 4 weeks or so. They also factor in Abraham coming in, eating some minutes. But Europa League's not till after 28 now. Yeah, I'd hate to be in that position. I feel for you. I think it's carry through. And then see where you sit next week. It is obviously, it's as good as a fixture really as you'll have if you need to play Mane. Ishak says, hi James, hope you and the family are well. Do you reckon it's worth giving Foden and Wirtz another week or using 2 to 3 free transfers and bringing Fernandes and Enzo? Foden to Fernandes, yes, all day long. I'm going to guess you need to move Wirtz out to do the other transfer. Another one, I'd be a bit reluctant to sell this week, but I'm okay with that, mate. Nicholas K. Sidorpo says, hi James, I hope you're doing well. Thanks for the great content. Would you start João Pedro? If yes, who to bench, Rogers or Senesi? I definitely wouldn't not play Rogers, mate. So definitely play Rogers if I wasn't clear on my words there. I would chance João Pedro over Senesi, personally. Thomas Salvadori says, hi James, would you include Watkins in wildcard or Abraham Posse swap when Watkins returns? Neither. Someone else. You ain't got the info, mate. You ain't got the info. Personally, if you're not going with João Pedro, I would just do it and just suffer what it is today. Sean Seaton, probably the wrong way to think, but I've gone Haaland cap over Bruno, otherwise I'd not captain for the next 3 weeks. Haaland 24, Bruno 25, Gabriel 26. Will Spurs free at back stump Haaland's space? Did it stump Burnley from scoring twice last weekend, mate? What I would say, Sean, it's not the right way to think about it. If you truthfully believe Bruno Fernandes is a better choice, then or an alternative, then go with them. I believe Haaland's the best choice. That's the only reason I've captained him this week. Sarah Dreyer says, hey James, what's the best Chow replacement for the same money, please? I was hoping to get Chalobah in at this stage, but don't have the money. I guess Chow can stay on my bench, thanks. Then roll, mate. Then roll. That's the right answer. Get that transfer window closed. Get the information from the cup games. Roll, mate. Roll. If you need to make a move, truthfully, moving Chow on at this stage, tempted to go Bournemouth. You obviously can't go Arsenal, you can't go Chelsea, but I'd be tempted probably to go right down to Hill. So then, okay, maybe it can open up for a different Chelsea player next week, for example. Shafwan says, thoughts on Jose Sarr, chance of him leaving Wolves, possible. So Victor John is out for the season now, so there's a chance one of Jose Sarr or Sam Johnson will leave Wolves this week. It's a possibility. Obviously, if he goes to Forest, he's not first choice, mate. Noel Cummins says, hi James, love your work. Senesi or H Williams? I presume this must be meant to be Nico Williams. H and N is near each other on a keyboard. I just checked. Who is the bigger priority urgency, Rice or Gabriel? Gabriel's a bigger priority, mate. Played Senesi or Nico Williams? Senesi. Just about. Gavin Richardson, in Patreon, Ask James this week, you accidentally came up with the beautiful term Sunderland flan. Okay, love it. What food item embodies being Spursy or a typical Spurs fan? Fucking burning hot curry, mate, probably. AG says, if Arsenal bottled the league somehow, who do you think win it? Well, City under that circumstance, mate. Zubin says, hey James, bought in Enzo and Bruno, have one more free transfer, but not sure if I should keep or hold or Cherky. Can move to Bumo or Semenyo, your thoughts? I wouldn't move to Semenyo at this moment, but definitely wouldn't sell him if I owned. That's two different things. Cherky to Rodgers, maybe, if that's on. I don't know if it would be or not for you. Cherky to Rice, if it's on. Otherwise, leave it be for the minute, mate. AT says, if you're frustrated with Tottenham at the moment, take a look at the Polish League for entertainment. 11 points between first and last. They give Warszawa bizarrely in the relegation zone. One to watch. I saw that in the week. I also saw that around about half the clubs in the Chinese League start the season on points deduction. Interesting. Gareth says, hi James, start João Pedro or Thiago. Oh, God. So rough. So rough. Let me have some water. I just couldn't. Under that one, it's like, how do you feel if you bench João Pedro and the team goes up and he's in it? And that has to be a possibility, right? Could also return off the bench. I think I'd start João Pedro. It's what I said in terms of that. If I was on wildcard, he'd go in and I'd suffer it because it would save me a transfer. Basically. Yeah, God, that's so horrible. I'm sorry. Honestly, I'd probably play João Pedro. ZZ Grum says, Coys, yes, mate. Ryan McWilliam, hi, James. Would you bench boost this? Dubravka, Krupi, Alderete, Reynildo. Caveat being I have 3 Chelsea in the starting 11, being Chalobah, Palmer, and Pedro. Oh, God. No. There isn't really any reason to think that any of those Chelsea players could be 0 minutes this week. But it's possible, isn't it? It'd be sick. No. Keep fingers crossed that Burnley score. CCCCC says, hi James, I'm on Raya Timber Rice. Triple Arsenal, excuse me. And is Gabriel essential with Arsenal double in 26? I don't like the word. So if you're chasing, taking on a player of high EO like that is a potential strategy, right? It's one of the reasons I never like the word. But fuck me, his ownership will be off the charts. In chase, is people are going to, without a doubt, is people are going to triple captain him in 26 if they get the double. So you decide what you think of that. I probably will be one of those people, right? So FPL Alex says, hi James, I have Bruno Guimaraes and Saka in my team. Should I move to Rice and Bruno Fernandes rather? Sorry, I've completely misread that. Yes, get it done. King of Mandalore, how would you feel about Slot as a next potential Spurs manager? Nearly happened 2 years ago, would work well with Heitinger, showed last season that he's a top coach. Let me just say it like this, an improvement on what I've got. Without a doubt. Kelzank says start Timber or Harry Wilson. Thanks, Timber, for me. Dire Wheels, Tarkovsky, Alderete or Thiago to start. I began with a forward, mate. Ricky Young, play Bowen or Watkins and Cucurella or Tarkovsky. Oh, again, Cucurella, I've got him in a predicted lineup. I think that's 50-50, man, on Cucurella. Again, I'd probably just chance it. With that one, there's more chance that he doesn't get on at all. Might be more of a blessing. So I think I would go Cucurella on that one. Bowen or Watkins. Yes, Bowen, mate. RG says, hello, James. Thanks for everything. Sell Szoboszlai for Enzo and maybe buy back in 28. I have spare 2 free transfers. Yep, I'm okay with that. General vibe seems to be that Szoboszlai may end up playing right back. There's also quite a bit of speculation that Curtis Jones, bizarrely, might be leaving Liverpool before the deadline. Shout out for our patrons, by the way. If we've got any team news coming in, please drop me a tag on Slack and I will share anything we've got here with the community. Please make sure sources are double checked. For the question that was asked me on the Liverpool Slack channel earlier today, the answer remains no, unfortunately. Next up is I've just done that one. Dermot Woods. Hi James, would you play Alderete or Maguire this week? Cheers, mate. Love the podcast. Oh God, that's close. Alderete, just about close. Close. Elisha. No, sorry, I've missed a few. No, that's right, Elisha. Hi James, hope you good day. 1 free transfer, thinking Foden to Enzo or Rodgers, but since City is against Tottenham, so would there be potential haul for him? Yeah, there might be. It might also be splinters in his bum. Yeah, look, I sold Foden last Saturday, and I'm sure you can all understand, those who are here regularly know that I wasn't keen to sell a player when it was about to play Tottenham, right? But I think it was the right choice, and I think this would be the right choice as well. Richard Matthews, hey James, play Mukele or Chalobah and Wilson, or play 2 Mukele, Chalobah, Wilson. I'd play Wilson over Mukele, I think. Yeah, just about. Chalobah definitely play. John says start Dango or Cherky. Probably Cherky. I do think Utara might come back into the Brentford team. Obviously, Damsgaard picked up a problem, but isn't ruled out last week. Yeah, probably just about Cherky, I think. It's possible neither starts. Hooli Lowe says, would you do Miley to Rice or roll and play Elliot Anderson? Anderson will become 8 for tackle whenever do make the move. Yeah, get Rice in, mate. Mike says, afternoon, mate. You nearly got me there, pal. Cucurella had strong expected goal involvement last game. Chalobah may not get DEFCON against the next 4 easy opponents. Why not Cucurella for 0.3 more? Because I don't think it's as secure. Play Gusto left back, play Hato left back. Don't think it's secure. If you believe it, mate, you crack on. PKH says, hi James, can't decide on Foden replacement, Rodgers or Bumo. Cheers. I would go Bumo. Yeah, that's the one. That's the player that I can't get to. I'm like, shit, I would have loved to have done that. So, Boomo. Heather says, James, start Chow or Anderson. That's obviously Joachim Anderson. Yeah, Joachim Anderson. Master Alistair says, Dewsbury Hall or Elliot Anderson to start. I think Elliot Anderson just about. NX Craig, hello, my friend. This afternoon, James, best of luck for this week, mate. Would you start Esteve or O'Reilly this week? I'll just go Esteve, mate. Mooman says, smash the like, please. Thank you, mate. Jake, fucking hell, someone put me down. Jacob Frost, hi James, any advice welcome. Issues are O'Reilly, VVD, Cherky, Goo, and don't frustrated either. Ekateki, only one free transfer. Shall wildcards feeling frustrated or just do -4 to something? I prefer. You know, you don't want to do nothing, mate. I don't really want to answer the question either, so I'm just going to say roll. Yeah, I mean that, honestly. Yeah, you weren't starting Goo this week, were you? Right, Goo is a big problem, and you need multiple transfers to deal with that. Roll. Shobit says, hi James, I got Chalobah and Krupi for a hit. Who do I start between Chow, Wilson, DCL? Okay, you're telling me what you did for a hit. Who do you want to start out of those three players? Wilson over DCL, mate. Zed says, hey James, your prediction is Fulham not scoring, Man City clean sheet, but Wilson over Nico Riley in benching dilemmas. Thought process would be great, thanks. Well, for one, I know that Harry Wilson definitely starts. He's also on a incredible streak. One goal seems to be getting him in the bonus. O'Reilly could easily be 1 pointer off the bench in a clean sheet, right? What would I put O'Reilly at starting this week? 60, 70%? Yeah, Wilson's the better pick, mate. I've got Wilson above, despite my prediction, I've got Wilson above O'Reilly on my bench, right? Harry Brown says, can you talk through Boomo versus Enzo? Yeah, I would buy Boomo. Personally, yeah. And if the Chelsea double happens, you want to drop it back down, can't you? Sebastian Castro says, happy Saturday, James. Hope you had a good night's sleep. Yeah, do you know what? Considering the true travels this way, I have had a decent week's sleep, actually. I feel better for it. What do you think about Wilson to Enzo for a free transfer of Rice, Fernandez, Boomo, Rogers? Yeah, it's fine, mate. Again, just factor in what I said about the value side of things, but yeah, okay. ZZ Grom says, play Bowen, Thiago or Virgil van Dijk. I'm thinking of playing Thiago and benching the other two. Thanks. Then I've got nothing else to add, have I? Mr. Samuelville says 2 free transfers, 0.9 in the bank. Defenses, Dorgu, Keno, Riley, Gabby. Okay, we need help here. Saka to Boomo, Rogers, and Dorgu to Timber or Roll. Oh yeah, that's a different one. That's get your shit done, mate. Yeah, get Timber in there, mate. James Jimmer says, hi James, need to sell either Ekateke or Saka to fund Bruno. Would you do Saka to Rice or Ekateke to Krupi? Saka to Rice, mate. Same answer every single week on these streams, mate. Spooky Sorcerer says, if they don't buy a centre back, is Hill a good buy and a nailed starter? Good pick. Nailed. He's definitely got favouritism now over Diakite, but we just should remember that in the first 4 months of the season, Diakite had that favouritism over Hill. Iriola seems to have really changed his mind from roundabouts to the time they lost at Sunderland. So at the moment he's got favouritism, but we can't, you're asking nailed. It's like, is he going to play every game moving forward? Well, as it would stand, yes, it looks like it, but I'm really sorry I dropped my phone. I really detest the word nailed. Because it's just nailed, it's fucking banged to the wall, right? It's like, you're staying there. Well, it ain't. It's probably good, but it's not nailed. Mitchell Joseph says, hi James, do you think transferring out O'Reilly is a priority this week? 1 free transfer left on my bench defenders of Vandenberg and Esteve. I can't afford Chalobah. Then it's more reason to roll, mate, because there's every chance next week you're going to feel desperate to get to Chalobah. So maybe you can get O'Reilly to Chalobah via going Vandenberg to a cheaper one. Okay, it's a possibility. But you may also after this week think, shit, I want to hold Vandenberg now. He's back in the team. That's a possibility. Uno Mosseco says, start Igor Jesus over VVD. Cheers, good luck. Probably yes. A decent record in Europa, isn't he? I suppose Palace are a European team this year, so maybe that helps. Yeah, probably, 1 league goal. AAAA says bench boost with Kelleher, Dewsbury Hall, Wilson, Raul Jimenez. I think it's got to be a better opportunity than that. With the 2 Fulham attackers, there must be, and a Brentford goalkeeper, there must be a better opportunity for you between 28 and 30, I think. That would be my instinct on that. Solar says, hi James, do you have any tips for growing a luxurious beard? Well, this ain't it, is it? And it's probably going to go today. To be honest, I would have had a haircut and a shave last week, but for those of you who don't know, I had some quite severe pain in my arm last weekend. So, and I'll do it myself. I couldn't have put my hand up to my head, so I can do it now. Yeah, I'm not the one for grooming tips, mate. Florian Meister says you shouldn't be asking someone like me. I mean, look at me, state really. Florian Meister says, hi James, how secure do you think Ronaldo's minutes are, considering him for O'Reilly to fund future transfers and play him alongside Gabriel and Timber in 24? Again, I wouldn't put it in the nailed category, but yeah, it would be a surprise to me personally if he wasn't playing regularly moving forward. Joachim Jonic, new here, just wanted to say hi. Come you Spurs from Belgium. Thank you. I love your chocolate. I love your waffles. I love your beer. And I hope that I'm in Bruges in a few weeks. Josh Davis says, what game will be the best and worst to watch this weekend? What game will be the best and worst to watch? Best. Could be United Fulham, actually, maybe. But mind you, it might be Bournemouth at Wolves today, actually. One to skip is... Oh, God. It's probably Forest Palace, sorry. Uros Milosevic says, is it worth taking a risk on João Pedro for these 3 home bankers in 4, given the lack of other forward options, Thiago's trickier games? Or do you think he's too much for rotation risk? So, here's where I sit on him, right? If you already own him, start him. Most scenarios. If you don't own him, don't buy him. If you're on wildcard, probably take the chance. That's where I sit on him. Shani Rassel says, Big James, missed last week's stream, so didn't get the old noggin rub. Sorry, I was on my way to Burnley. Which only means one thing. Red arrow from 7k down to 15k. Bring me that luck this week, mate. Good luck. Modan says, hi James, start Krupi or Anderson. Fixtures this week, I'll be going Krupi, mate. Next up is, we're about 13 minutes from deadline, guys, so I'm really going to try and quick fire these. Darren Taylor, hi James, are you tempted at all to switch captaincy? No. IHM says, hi James, I have 2 free transfers. O'Reilly to Chalobah now, or wait, I would still have 3 free transfers. Yes, get it done. Muff says, hi James, hope you're well. Would you prefer Bumo or Rogers? Bumo. Yeah, Bumo. Mr. Shooter, hey mate, play Virgil, Cash or Senesi? Virgil. Andrew Sands, not enough likes. Who are you likely to bench in 31 at the moment? Would you consider playing just 10 players? I'm too far away, Andrew, because I don't really know what I'm buying and selling, and the Chelsea, if Chelsea end up doubling, then it's going to change a few things in the plan. So hopefully Alderete as a 12th man is probably hopefully where I land. Undercover says, morning James, smash the like, need help with this one please mate. I have 1 free transfer. Who shall prioritise this week to cover next 4? Gordon to Bumo or Chow to Chalobah? Gordon to Bumo, mate. A Mandel says, free play, nor Anderson or Hall or Okay, good luck, mate. James Peter says, hi James, would you sell Semenyo to Rogers? No. If not, would you do it next week? Maybe. James H says, bench Van Heck or Foden? I mean, if I've got Foden and I'm holding him, then I'm starting him. But I think it's probably a sell, mate. Over the Hill Bill says, Cunha to Bruno or Ekateka to João Pedro and Miley to Bruno. Yeah, just Cunha Bruno at the moment. I'd be a bit reluctant to do that. Lee Thompson says, hi James, got Tarkowski, Anderson, Alderete, Reynildo. Need to bench 2. They want to bench in dilemmas, but would you double up on Sunderland to play Tarkowski and Alderete? Nah, just double up, mate. Greg FPL says, hi James, so Bruno, Bumo, Rice, Semenyo can sell Devaney up to 8.1. Was thinking Douglas Luiz for free. What's wrong with Rogers, mate, or Enzo Fernandez? I mean, if you can go up to 8.1, why are you not considering either of those 2 players? Would be where I'm at with that. We think Douglas Luiz is better than either of these 2 when we don't even know for sure that he'll start. I mean, yeah, it could be good. You're going to be on pens, rare. Yeah, but we don't know it at this moment, right? I haven't got Douglas Luiz, but it start this way. I've got it as Bogard and Onana. More Dad Junjis says, good luck, James. Bench 1. Jimenez, VVD, Tarkowski, mate. JR Jens Villog, would you play Alderete over Bowen when also starting Chalobah? No. Talisman, Pens, don't like that. Would still be going Bowen. We have to assume Bowen's on Pens at this moment, right? So, again, shout out for our patrons. If we've got any leaked info, let us know. There's nothing going around as far as I am aware at the moment in terms of team news. Just going to have a very quick scan of some stuff. No, not expecting anything. But obviously, Arsenal's an early kick-off. We know roughly what the team's going to be, don't we? Next up, Captain Roll says, hi, James. Hello. Lorenzo says, James, why do you favour Senesi over Gay if your prediction is City clean sheet and Bournemouth concede? So I've also got Bournemouth predicted to score 3, right? He's a set-piece threat. He's a DEFCON magnet. Different way of looking at it, isn't it? Free Soul says, start Keane, Jockey Manderson on Rodon. Thanks. Jockey Manderson. Captain Roll says, hi, James. Should I start João Pedro or Krupi? I'm gambling. It's close. That's like the other one before with Thiago. I'll go Krupi. That one. Jim Carrick says, Bruno G to Rodgers or Dorgu to Senesi. Or any mid below 8 million. Already have Enzo and Wilson. What's the consequence of keeping Dorgu though? Like, have you got backup? Personally, I'd go to Rodgers move. Rijno, skip my question. It wasn't intentional, mate. I apologise. Charles Salisbrook says, good luck, James. Would you start Krupi or Harry Wilson? Krupi. Thomas says, have 2 free transfers. Thinking about O'Reilly to Hill, Miley to Enzo, or just roll. I'm not going to read your team out, mate. Fine, get it done. Chris James says, hi, James. Should I start Krupi or Thiago? Thanks again. This one's a little different. Fixture, I do think Krupi plays, so bollocks, yes. Fimen says, Thiago v Wilson versus Senesi. As per my team. Senesi last. Nick Hodgie, start Pickford or Petrovic. Pickford, mate. Paul Striver says, Arsenal team leak imminent, is it? Daniel's Car says, start 2 of Thiago, Sade, Krupi, cheers. Thiago, Krupi. Ashish says, hi, James, start Calafiori or Chow. I'd take my chances with Calafiori. San Dan says, hello, mate. What do you think of Captain Palmer and who would start between Saliba and Chalobah? Palmer at home to West Ham is not even in my top 10, mate. Yeah, so no. I'm starting Saliba. I'm never leaving him out. I'm never leaving Arsenal defenders out, mate. Next up is Adonga Mohammed. Hi, James. Already had Palmer. Would you sell Cherky for Rodgers or Enzo? Rodgers first for me. Andrew Peake, bench boost. Dubravka, Anderson, Tarkovsky, Krupi. No. Uked says, hi, James. Conundrum. I have Timber and Gabriel, but also Chalobah and Mikeli. Play double Arsenal or Bent? No, play the Arsenal, mate. Ham34 says, hi, James. Play which 2 of these? Garner, Collins, Anderson, Chow, Krupi. As in start Krupi and Garner. Mooman says, mind you, that's going to be 3 defenders on the bench, so that doesn't work, does it? Joachim Anderson play. Esteve, Bendenberg, I love it, or Anderson. Playing for Bruggen over Dubravka for context, thanks as always. So play one of Esteve, Vandenberg or Anderson. Anderson. Socken says, bench Thiago or Anderson. That's Elliot Anderson. Yeah, bench Elliot Anderson. Hazzy says, worth doing Ekiteke to Evan Nilsson if it allows Szoboszlai to Rodgers or Dorgu to Chalobah. The 2 Liverpool are fine for this week, mate. Good home fixture. Roll. Nick Span says, hey, James, thanks for the stream. Play Vandenberg on Mane, or use last free transfer for Hill Senesi. Roll is going to be better, mate. Elliot Anderson says, would you get into Abumo, Semenyo and Enzo if it means downgrading Ekiteke or Saka? Already have Rice, so we'll need Timber. Yep, downgrade Saka, you've got the thumbs up. I wouldn't buy Semenyo at this point, personally. Liam says, bench Barry or Harry Wilson. Probably Barry Wilson, mate. Ivan says, is that meant to be Tierno Barry? I've just clocked on with someone taking the piss. He probably is Tierno Barry, isn't it? Yeah, I'd play Tierno Barry over Harry Wilson. There you go. Evan Nilsson as a captain? No, not for me, mate. Sam Routledge, like the stream, you bastards. Yeah, cheers. Thanks, Sam. Coolpy says, hi, James. Surprised you've gone with Haaland cap over Bruno, given it's so close and Bruno gets extra point for goal, clean sheet, etc. Is that Spurs bias coming in? Also, haven't died. Do I start there? Just I think Haaland gets more points this week. can I remind everyone where Fulham are in the table and where Tottenham are in the table, and that Tottenham just conceded twice to Burnley and West Ham in their last 2 games? Yeah, listen, I still need a reason. I don't have a strong enough one. Hussein says, hi James, benching Quandary, Gay versus Mukele, play Mukele, just about, I think. James Moore, sell Verts to Rogers. I'd probably roll that, personally. Alan Cronin, hi James, bench DCL, Chalobah or Gabriel, DCL probably. Yock says, hi James, start Krupi Jr. or João Pedro. I've covered that for someone else not long ago, mate. Probably not a good idea. Groupie Jr. instead of one of the following: Gay, Szoboszlai or Tarkowski. Yeah, bollocks Tarkowski. Fuck it, why not? Shit, lost my place in the chat. I think. No, got it. CE Fuzzer bought Watkins in early. No free transfers left. Do you start and hope for the best or bench for Bruno J? Start and hope for the best. Cavara, hello James. Dallo or Welbeck? Welbeck. AHM, O'Reilly to Chalobah. Or sell that first option. Jeffrey says, hey James, would you sell Sade for Bumo? Yes. BT said start 1. Tarkowski, Hill, Cherky. Imwork says, hi James, cheeky Nando's or fish and chips, also curry sauce or mushy peas. Nando's and neither. Have a good weekend. So Adam Croston, play Wilson or Thiago. Baron Bain, hi James, start Cash or Cherky. Faziana, Spurs arguably the bogey team for City in recent years. Captaincy is clear for me, mate. Relic returns, hi James, best 4.5 million midfielder. Miley, maybe. Catherine, bench 2 of Anderson, O'Reilly, Lacroix. Just the 2 Andersons, bollocks to it. Negasili, should I bench Mane versus Bournemouth, Sade versus Villa or Wilson v United? Mane. LC says, hi James, bench 1 of Munoz, DCL, Enzo, Alderete, Timber, DCL. Volva9 says, good afternoon James, would you keep and play Palmer this week and play Wilson over Krupi? Yeah, if I owned, I'd start him, no doubt about it. Top Gear JP, hi James, hope you're having a nice start to the weekend. Who would you pick to start between Krupi, Harry Wilson, Krupi? Mustafa Mohammed, would you start Cash or Reynildo? Ajwa says, love your stuff mate. I'm not reading your wild card, but I wish you the best of luck, mate. Matej Boric, bro, how do you think Chelsea line up? It's literally predicted on the bottom right-hand corner and rotating around, mate. And no, I don't think Reece James plays. Uros Milicevic says Saka, King and Tarkowski to Rice, Bumo, Senesi, or Saka, Minter to Rice and Bumo, like the second option. AJW says, bollocks, I meant Dubravka, not Deborah. That's all right. She's lovely too. Sam Treek says Welbeck to Wilson or Wilson to start. Welbeck. Marketing says, hi James, currently have Gabriel and Timber, hold the double. Yeah, hold the double. Kelvin Guy, Bruno Guimaraes to Bumo, Rogers or Enzo. Bumo the preference. We are 3 minutes from deadline, guys. Patrons, shout us, tag me please if we've got anything. Michael Doherty, hello James, sell Dorger, O'Reilly and Stacey, well, and her mum for Cash, Reynildo and Enzo for free. Yeah, sure. Apex Lions -4, João Pedro for Thiago. No. Aaron says, is Dubravka, Krupi, Alderete, Consa worth the bench boost? That's not bad, that. Particularly if either clean sheet comes Sunderland Burnley. I don't mind that, actually. Fema Salas, who's your favourite captain for this game week? It's on the screen, left-hand corner, rotating with the correct score predictions. Frederick Fitness, best chance for Wilson return or Dallo clean sheet? I'll be playing Wilson, mate. Elliot Sorvik says, keen to Hill, O'Reilly to Maguire or Ekiteke 7 million forward. To fund Foden to Bruno. Shit, you need to go Bruno. O'Reilly to Maguire. Elliot Anderson says, would you get in 2 of Bumo, Semenyo and Enzo? I wouldn't buy Semenyo at this point. I've been clear on that. If it means downgrading Ekiteke or Saka, I feel like I've already had this question. Yeah, downgrade Saka, mate. Drive 3, Arlin. I can see Marco Silva on the touchline ranting and raving about the dodgy late pen. Who's reffing the game? Don't know. Steamroller says, is there any leaks? As far as I'm aware, no. Nothing in as far as I can see. We're a minute to deadline, guys. Please make sure you're getting your teams locked in. No, I've got nothing in terms of leaks as far as I can tell at this moment. Nothing at all coming in. Hussein says, hi James, benching order, starting Pedro, Gay or Krupi first on the bench. I'd probably go Krupi over Gay if that helps, and probably over Pedro as well. Jay Barker, what order would you have? Krupi, Van Heck, Maguire, Maguire over Van Heck. FPL Marshall, 100 Haaland cap. What's your rank, mate? My rank is 36k roughly. Football fans says start Pedro or Evan Nilsson. Tom Spain says thoughts on Justin for a pick. Goodmanson could be back soon. Avoid. Angelo Pin, hi James. Szoboszlai to Enzo, even though Szoboszlai is increasing FPL price. No, I would roll personally. Mustafa says, would you start Krupi, Cash, or Reynaldo Krupi? Kasim says, since Spurs can only register 3 in Jan, which 3 would you have signed? Don't know, but deadline's gone. Well, it doesn't matter, isn't it? Gallagher's going to get registered, Basuma's going to get registered, and it might just register Tell and not do any shit, right? Okay, guys, thanks very much to Pulse Driver. If you are correct on that, that's great. If it's just bullshit that you've put in the chat because you think it's funny, I'll give you the opportunity to delete it or just mute you, mate. And we'll find out in 15 minutes. So I'll give you that opportunity, mate. Tanky says, locked in, user PP. Good luck, everyone. For those of you who came to the FPL stuff only, smash a like, hit the sub button. I think we just about got through your queues. If you've got any non-FPL questions, happy to cover them off for 15 minutes. And then we'll go through the team news. And then, yeah, I'm going to have a haircut and a shave. What do you mean haircut, James? Like, you ain't got no hair. Yeah, but I kind of, yeah, a little bit. Certain places, nuts and all that, right? If you want to support the show, it's www.patreon.com/planetfpl. Plenty going on there always. Next week we'll have Tottenham, Q&A, Money in Football. Ask James is actually on Patreon next week. And Gameweek24 preview, the differential show. All of them available from Intermediate Plus. One of those will be available from Basic Plus. Advanced tier content, plenty more going on there as well. Nico's Corner, probably talking tactics, what the numbers say. Probably a Slack stories, team news stream next Friday as well. Remember, it's a Friday deadline next week. There will be a deadline stream publicly available for everybody on Friday. And I'm pleased it's a Friday deadline for a change because I'll be heading up to Manchester very early on the Saturday morning. So there will be a deadline stream next Friday. Also, plenty more content publicly coming up for you this week. Game Review podcast Monday. Transfer window show, myself and David on Tuesday, wrapping up the events of obviously the weekend's transfers and whatever happens on deadline day, because transfer window closes on Monday. Wednesday, that show with Nico makes its monthly appearance on Wednesday this week. The Weekender will be on Thursday this week. That's because of a little bit of a complication with my own personal life and also potential recording for Clash of Correspondence. Essentially, my wife's leaving me for 4 days. Unfortunately, it's only 4 days. So the Weekender is on Thursday. Clash of Correspondence on Friday will be Brighton against Crystal Palace with Sam Murray and Rory McLaughlin Dowd ahead of the deadline stream on Friday. Right, that's it. Smash a like, hit the sub. If you've got any non-FPL questions, smash them in the chat. Or if you just want to go and enjoy the football and whatnots, go and enjoy the football. As the Pulse Driver has retracted the message. Yeah, it wasn't really funny, was it, mate, to do that sort of thing right on deadline, and didn't read it out, mate. Thank you. You can stay. Daniel Mackey says, which of the championship pace setters would you most like to see in the Premier League next season? Ipswich. Shout out for my mate Amber Redmond and Paul Court Allen. Ipswich, great away day. Really good away day, and it's not far. So Ipswich, happy with that. Long time since I went to Middlesbrough, but it's a fucking long way at all. I need 3 trips to the northeast. Coventry, yeah, I've been a long time for Coventry. I've no problem with them coming up. If Wrexham come up, I mean, it's just going to happen eventually, isn't it? By the looks of it, if they come up, they come up. Hull have been doing quite well. Now could be 4 trips to the northeast, couldn't it? I don't have a particular preference. Probably Ipswich, but for me, it's like my choice isn't so much on preference. It's the away day. It's the away day. What's the view like in the stadium, etc. So, yeah, Ipswich for me. And I got nothing against Norwich. You're probably too far adrift, but Norwich come up would be great as well. Francis Logan says, Dane Scarlett is playing Rangers. Would he score, James? You owe me tenner after your last tip. Probably shouldn't say anything then, should I? The lesson in that is don't tip anything up when you don't know enough about both teams. And I didn't know enough about Dortmund. I didn't realise how fucking shit they were, mate. Sorry, apologies. Let's say no. Tanky says, do you actively play FPL Challenge? I certainly enjoy the performance events like points for ball recovery, shots on target. We've got a community of guys within our Patreon that play it, but I'll be very honest, I'm not one of them. So not fair for me to comment or criticise or not criticise or whatever. Nak Ibrahim Man says, hi James, can you say a few reassuring words about Captain Haaland? Everyone on my timeline went with Bruno and I could use a bit of confirmation bias. No, he's going to blank, mate. Deadline's gone. We're both dead. What are we going to do? I hope he blanks. He's playing my team, mate. Choice is made, isn't it? What's the point now? Deadline's gone, mate. BT says, predict biggest signing remaining, please, and cheers. Well done as always. Not expecting anything massive. I think probably the biggest deal has probably already been done in Semenyo. Watch out for my team, truthfully. Might do something big, might do nothing. But I feel like, yeah, we're probably the one to watch, really. Probably. I suspect it's more likely nothing, by the way. But truthfully, I'm not expecting any real big deals over these next few days. Colin Johnson says, hi, James. Would you be happy for us Lions to get in Prem next season? How do you think the authority would think about it? I presume you're talking about Millwall, obviously also doing very well. Yeah, sure, bring it. It'd be funny if you go up and West Ham go down. Or as me and Dad discussed last week, it'd be funny if Millwall went up and West Ham and Tottenham went down. I'd look forward to it massively, mate. I've never been to the Den, so I would really look forward to it. I think in all seriousness, because of resources within the club, which you will know better than me, so if I'm wrong, I'd stand corrected. But I wouldn't think you'd have the financial muscle to go mad. And you'd probably get slapped all over the place. I don't mean off the pitch, I mean on the grass. That would be the most likely scenario. But it obviously sets you up much better for the longer term to then come up. Look, if Millwall got up, finished 17th next year, you'd bite my hand off, wouldn't you? It's just being realistic. But you have to come up. Good luck to them. Good luck to them. See a fresh face is always interesting in the Premier League, mate. I would not see my team play them. Yeah, bring it. I can't say I'm actively out here looking for Millwall coming to White Hart Lane personally, but yeah. DTAF says, non-FPL, Spurs aside, is VAR killing your enjoyment of the sport? I watch a lot of football, but don't get anywhere near the same level of excitement as before. Problem is other sports are a bit guff. It's just covering off old hat here, really, buddy. I'm sure the majority of you know where I stand on VAR, but it's not reversible now, so what does it matter? Do I enjoy the sport more with VAR than I did before? No. No, I don't, mate. Freddie Cook says, hey, James, I have what is probably a stupid question. Like stupid questions, I just might get met with a stupid answer, mate. What do people mean when someone has favouritism? Does it just mean they're preferred starters? I would say so, mate, yeah. If I said to you, what's your favourite flavour of ice cream? You'd probably have a favourite, right? So you've got favouritism for that flavour. Same thing, isn't it? Greg says, reckon Elliot Anderson might go Manchester United if Carrick stays. Wolves End Boys Club connection. Yeah, maybe. Maybe. AG says, who should get the backup striker spot for England? Watkins, DCL or Tony, top goal scorer in the Saudi League. Watkins if he's fully fit. Yeah. For me, comfortably. As long as he's fully fit. Which he might not be. But yeah, Ollie Watkins. Cole Sliver says, is Lewis Hall the best English left back at the minute? Between him and Nico O'Reilly, I would say. And if those are the two that went to the World Cup, I'd be pretty happy with that. Frederick Orr says, thanks for another great week of content. Do you have any insight on Kulusevski's fitness? Insight, no. What I can tell you is what I see and what I hear. And I see a lot of stuff from James Maddison. Indeed, Tottenham actually posting pictures of James Maddison training yesterday with a ball. He might be pretty fucked, mate, unfortunately. So I know Graham Potter had said sort of November time that he hoped to call Kulusevski up for the March internationals. I don't think he's going to be available. And there's real concern. Real concern. So, no. Mark Raven Mad says, do you find it a bit antiquated that footballers' wages are still stated in weekly terms? Is there a reason that they aren't stated in annual terms? I don't know about you, but if I see someone, he's on 7.8 million a year, my first instinct is, what's that in week? Truthfully. That's where my head goes. Oh, right, fuck. How do we drop that into roughly 50 weeks a year? Okay. What's that? 150 grand a week or something? Is that right? Something like that. That's how my brain would go on it. So, just what it is, I think. It's just how it's done. Spooky Sorcerer says, sorry, I'll come on to you in a second, mate. I've missed a couple. FPL Creator says, hi James, curious hear your views on the lack of transfer activity at Liverpool with the injury issues we have in defence. I get we have a long-term vision, but it feels negligent to not do anything. Agree, but I also feel the same about Tottenham at the moment, mate. So see what the next few days bring. But yeah, I certainly know Arnie Slot said, yeah, it's probably nothing. I did hear that. Yeah, look, it seems a bit strange to me. Particularly as I know there were a few like real kind of long-term injuries at Liverpool that people forget, like Leone and stuff. But it feels like the majority of the first team is actually available. Obviously, there's a right-back problem now. But otherwise, the majority of the best 11's actually available. So what if it's not? I do agree. I think it's playing with fire a bit. But also, how much was spent last summer? Maybe when they made that final decision on Isak, maybe the decision at that point, I don't know, for PSR reasons or whatever, was, well, that's it. We've got to let January go. Daniel Mackey says, any interest in the Winter Olympics starting next week? Truthfully, no. No, sorry, I don't want to be a killjoy on that. I'm just only answering the question honestly. Spooky Sorcerer says, what does it tell about Slot and the club that Curtis was ready to leave? Another homegrown academy player wanting to go. News of him having a bust up with the manager too. Well, if he's had a bust up with the manager, that'll help move him on. And it's possible, to relate to the previous question, is there an issue where it's close on PSR and they need to make a domestic sale? And obviously he's a homegrown player. I don't know. I'm not aware of Liverpool being in any trouble from that perspective, by the way. But I don't know. You start wondering, right? Steamroller says, who of current players will become a good manager? What do you think? It's not often the ones you think. Honestly, it's really not often. You'd think someone like Declan Rice, maybe Jordan Henderson. I think you're drawn to those sort of profiles or centre-backs, aren't you, rather than attackers. Who knows? Maybe João Pedro would be the best manager in the world. No idea. Kasim says, which sport would you play if you had more free time? I used to play snooker a lot in my 20s. A lot. Sort of at least every other week. I used to play poker a lot. I don't know if that falls under your realms of sport or not. Probably snooker, I'd say, probably. For me, yeah. Look at me, I'm overweight and I'm fit and I fits. I'm not saying that snooker players are, I'm just saying. I don't throw darts very well, so... Kratos says, I find it a bit insane we've ended up in a position where for at least the next 3-4 weeks we have to likely play over our best centre midfielder at right back, or with all due respect to Endo, our worst centre midfielder as a right back. Colin Johnson says, cheers James, love chat about us. Millwall FC agreed, will be super tough in the Prem. Good luck, mate. Karen Peller says, hi mate, over there people talk about big teams. How would you define a big team? What would be a surprise big team in the lower leagues? Also, best beer. Cheers. Best beer. I like a Brewdog personally. But I'll tell you what I like. I've had a few of recently. Is Cruz Campo's quite nice. But I changed like the weather. I'm more of a cider drinker these days. How do we define a big team? I don't think there's a right or a wrong answer on that. It's like the old argument about Tottenham. Oh, how Tottenham a big six team? Well, if you look at the revenue, it's a big six team. It's competitive with the other five. It's part of that. If we're talking on the pitch at the moment, you go, well, Villa are better, Newcastle better, whatever. Yeah, don't disagree with you. Are all 8 of those big teams? Yeah. Are Everton a big team? Yeah. I would say big club. Great new stadium, brilliant support, big history. Everton's big football club. But if you're of a younger generation, what's Everton to you over the last 30 years? It's nothing, right? At least with my team, I've seen Tottenham playing a Champions League final. You say about Everton as an example, right? Now, I don't think Tottenham are like significantly bigger than Everton, for example, in terms of like fan bases and stuff like that. But in terms of revenue generated, yeah, significantly stronger. Right? So I think with these, you can side your arguments in many, many ways. For some people, like a younger crowd, it will just be like whoever's like the top 3 or 4, I suppose. I don't know. Most probably wouldn't think Tottenham was a big club if you're younger, right? Frederick, or we all in Sweden need Kulusevski in March. Yeah, fingers crossed, mate. I don't think it's going to happen. Let's have a look at some team news. I will cover off down to Cole Sliver. I can see his last question at 146. But let's just have a check on these team news. Let's see what we've got. I'm sure everyone wants to know Arsenal first, so we'll start there. Not expecting any major shocks. I guess it's kind of left back. Probably the major question on this. Raya, Timber, Saliba, Gabriel is Hincapié. Rice, Zubamendi. Okay, Havertz, Saka, Trossard, Gyökeres. So Havertz, you would assume that's in midfield as right-sided 8. And Gyökeres up front. The Leeds United team I will get for you. Darlow, Bogle, Goodmanson starts. So he's back in. Rodon, Strack. James Justin starts too. So I would think that's probably Justin in the back 3. For those who kind of asked about him, I remember Jakob Bijol's targeting return next week. I don't think that sticks. Ampadu, Gruev, Stack, Aronson, and Calvert-Lewin. The Wolves lineup. Let's have a look. It's a rare start for Rodrigo Gomez there. Mosquera, Santiago Bueno, Agbadou back 3. He looks like Hugo Bueno, Rodrigo Gomez wing backs. Andre João Gomez, Mane starts. Hwang and Aroka there up front. For Bournemouth, I suppose a few people sweating on Krupi. I can tell you that he starts. I'm fairly certain that it's the same team that started against Liverpool. Looks like Alex Jimenez right side midfield again. So Petrovic in goal. You've got Truffert, Senesi, Hill starts. Adam Smith. You've got Jimenez, Scott and Cook. Adley, Krupi and Evan Nilsson. Finally, we'll just do Brighton Everton. You never can be too sure with Brighton what you're going to get. For Bruggen in goal, Dunk, Van Heck. Fullbacks would appear to be De Kuyper and Kadioglu. Welbeck starts up front. Looks like Rutter behind. I would say Yari, Baleba midfield. And then you've got Mitoma and Gross. So Minter is a substitute again. So too's Grudar. So too Joel Veltman. And finally, let's see if this is back 3 or 4 from Everton. I think we'll know as soon as we see the team. And no, maybe we don't. So I'd say he's back 4. Branthwaite at left back, I would think. And Jake O'Brien right back. Michael Keane starts with James Tarkowski, obviously in front of Jordan Pickford. James Garner, Idrissa Gana-Gueye, Harrison Armstrong will start. So to the Dewsbury Hall, Iliman and Dyer and Tierno Barry. I'd be very surprised looking at that lineup if that's a back three. It's possible you could play O'Brien wing back, and the only one I think you'd maybe move James Garner left wing back. Everton would not do that sort of thing at the moment. Would not want to take James Garner out the middle. So I think that's a back four, and that's the four big centre backs really, essentially as part of the back four. Interesting. Okay, let's finish these questions off. Where were we? Over the Hill says, as a YouTube artist, okay, thank you. Do you measure your opinions on Spurs more closely than anyone else? Seems like avoiding bias would be one of the trickiest parts of your gig. You appear quite unbiased. Thank you. Well, that's the attempt, is to try and look. I'll have opinions that many of you will disagree with. I'll have opinions some of you will agree with. Some people need info. My information is to my idea is to try and give people the truth in terms of how I see it. How I see it might be wrong quite a lot of the time. But I think that's the right thing to do. If anything, I overly compensate against Tottenham. I maybe even sometimes compensate too far the other way for maybe Arsenal and Chelsea because of the rivalries a little bit. But I'll try and tell it as I see it. There's no point doing anything different. Like if Tottenham signed Strand-Larsen as an example on Monday, we'll sit and go, oh, that's amazing. He's going to tear it up for Tottenham. Like that wouldn't be my opinion, right? I'd be like, well, he's back up to Solanke. I'm going to tell you the truth. So in terms of comparing opinions to others, not really. Not really. I'm aware of some other people's opinions, whether it's Spurs, FPL, whatever, but I try not to. I try to be my own person from that perspective. I wouldn't say it's tricky because if your mindset is constantly, I want to tell it as I see it, then obviously there's emotive stuff with Tottenham that's going to like affect, sometimes positively, sometimes negatively. But if I try and think like, you know, would you really say this if you had a crowd of like 1,000 sitting literally in front of you? No, I wouldn't say that. Then don't say it, right? So thank you. Andrew Barton says, which sleeping giant would you like to see back in the Prem one day, James? Same answer regularly give, Sheffield Wednesday. It's the biggest away day I ain't done, so that's the one, mate. Offside foot, he says, who's the GOAT, Rocket or Hendry? Rocket for me, personally. Mark Craven Mad says, just wanted to say that these non-FPL questions are my favourite bit of content. Thanks for your great work. Good luck this week. Thank you, mate. Have a good weekend. Daniel Mackey's put the Arsenal team in. Thank you. David Hardy says, how cold was it in Frankfurt? What temperature below which will you not attend a game? Do you know, it wasn't too bad. So it was snowing, but only kind of really during the game and then on the way back. So it wasn't too bad. It was not as cold as we were anticipating. So, I think it was probably 0 to 1 degree kind of. I've been in Prague for a game in a stadium that had a running track with no roof that was on top of a mountain on Valentine's Day before I was with my wife. And it was -6 at ground level. I'm not joking. This stadium was pretty much at the top of a mountain. That was fucking cold. If the game's on, mate, I'll be there. So weather is not going to dictate. The amount of arrangements you make, you don't know what the weather's going to be, right? I booked Frankfurt like 3-4 months ago. Everything. Flights, hotel, a lot. So I have no idea what the weather's going to be. I'm on January. Frankfurt would be bad. Burnley last weekend. It's all booked ages ago. Manchester United next weekend. It's booked ages ago. So weather's... might rain today, I'm not going to go. No, that's definitely not me, mate. Cole Slipper says, Healy's Rattler is the best cider. I don't think I've ever read that, Cole, to be honest. Kasim says, what do you think about Wenger's offside rule suggestion? Personally think it's bizarre and really hope it doesn't happen. Agreed. Yeah, it's utter fucking nonsense, mate, honestly. His idea is that it will help more goals. I'm not sure it will. The offside rule was brought in to stop people gaining an advantage. if we were having like, oh, your stud's still onside, right, people gain an advantage. He also seems to think that it'll stop the controversy of close calls. No, it won't. Just be the same. Oh, like, oh, is there daylight between the players? Will you be able to tell or not? Oh, let's get the lines out. I mean, no fucking different. And a lot of these goals will look miles offside. It will make the interpretation for the average fan more difficult. You'll be like, oh, he looks well offside. Ah, he's got like a toe that's still onside and stuff. Right. It's not going to help anyone. And the other thing it's going to do, offside traps, put them in the bin. Everyone low block, defending deep. Yeah, this is not the football we want, mate. No, it's absolute nonsense. Theo says, wow, Havertz 10 is interesting. Gareth P. Havertz starting, Odegaard bench. Spooky Sorcerer. Michael Keane, who was set to be on the bench, has also been handed a start. Yeah, got it. Andrew Barton, good man, James, correct answer. Thank you, mate. Sebo Slicey says, thanks for your answer on X about Dane Scarlett. Excited to see him up top for the Hibbies. Yeah, I hope it goes very well. I like Dane. David Vardy says, cheers, James. Livinda Lua says, what's your biggest poker win online and live? Not big. I last played poker a couple of years ago. To be honest, to scratch an itch, because I hadn't played for a while, and I just went to a cash table at Stratford. And I got myself about 500 up, and that went to about 300, and I got out of there. I got out of there because I could feel the whole lot was going to go, and I was like, well, do you know what? If you fucking earn some money out of a day out, that's nice. I mean, definitely more losses than winnings. My favourite hand ever, I'll tell you, this is honestly true story, and it's such a shame that I didn't have more money at the table. I'd only had about either 100 or 150 at the table. It was all I had. And this was, no word of a lie. You remember when Tottenham lost at Newcastle 5-1 on the last day of the season, the year Leicester won the league, and then Arsenal obviously finished above us for second. Yeah, we finished third in the 2-horse race. Slapped 5-1 at Newcastle. Bad state. Me and a few lads was with, including the Geordie, went to the casino in Newcastle. Sat down again at a cash table, and it was only about third, fourth hand. And I had, I think it was on a big blind, I think. And I had five of hearts, 4 of hearts. Cool. Flop comes out, 3 of hearts, 6 of hearts, 7 hearts. Fuck. Bit fucking straight flush on the flop. And can't really do anything because I'm sitting on the blind, right? So, right, okay. So I just had to let people keep fucking betting. Obviously didn't have a lot. I took what I could out of it, but it wasn't a lot. The chance of that happening, by the way, because I looked it up afterwards, 65,000 to 1 shot that you'd hit a straight flush on the flop, which is quite remarkable. So, yeah, I mean, I'd only got a couple of hundred out that hand. So, yeah, nothing much bigger than that. I've never played for stupid money or stuff and overly advise it. He had a period where I played a lot around about 2014-15, and I was pretty good. I was doing all right. I wasn't losing, let's say, but I wasn't really winning either. But I did think it was something that if I'd put more time to it and more resources, then I could possibly do all right and make it almost like a bit of a sideshow thing. I did read quite a number of books on poker and stuff. So, yeah, all right. Not a terrible player. But I know people even within our Patreon community are much better poker players than me. Michael Angelo says, I was eyeing up a -12. Yeah, I no. Let's just move on, mate. I hate the wind says, please learn how to pronounce English words. I'm 42, mate. If I can't do it now, then it's a bit late, isn't it? It's over, mate. This won't be the stream for you. Living the Law says, love it. You're very welcome. Daniel Mackey says, saw my mate get a royal flush during a casual poker game at home once. Yeah, it's quite something. All right, guys, we'll leave it there. Thanks. Much love. Have a great weekend. If you can support the show, we'd love to have you join us. We are just under 800 paying patrons. It's a number we haven't hit yet, and I'd love to hit that very soon. www.patreon.com/PlanetFPL. If you want to support the show, want access to additional content, and obviously if you want access to our community on Slack as well. So you'll be back with me for the game review podcast on Monday. I hope you all have a great weekend. Reminder, deadline stream next week is on a Friday. Have a great weekend, everyone. Ciao for now.